Well, now we're coming up to the part of our program that I have a love-hate relationship with. I secretly love it, but I openly dread it, and both feelings are genuine.
You know what? But I think you kind of hinted at what's kind of awesome about this is that we can take music that we don't necessarily like, and then you know, turn it into something that is pleasurable.
There is a way to squeeze some value out of sharing the planet with Steely Dan, and I think we are going to attempt to demonstrate that by accomplishing a successful 10-song playlist, five apiece, but we are drafting against each other. So we're going to try to pack this playlist with it. We want to make sure at least half of it is tolerable, the half we contribute. I
Yeah,
don't. Now, I have to be honest. I can't. We have not developed a formal system to determine who goes first. I
right. We haven't. I did go first last time,
That I'm
so
definitely taking it here.
if you
Uh,
want to just alternate from here on out, since we've already you know, we already have a draft where I went first, we could just alternate the rest of the way.
all right. I'm going to go first today, and I'm going to draft first with "Hey 19."
Okay, good. Because well, okay, so do you want to go into your strategery?
Well, I want to. It's my. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Perhaps in this instance, it's a song by them that I genuinely enjoy listening to, and I remember it being when it was a record when it was current. I mean, again, I'm old as the sun, so to me, I remember when it was out and it was on the radio, and I liked it then too. It wasn't until I was much older and understood the lyrics and then understood Steely Dan's lyrics in general that I became repulsed, and I am repulsed by the lyrics and um, that baby boomer again. You and I are in an unfortunate situation. We are in the generation between the baby boomers and the millennials. Both of those are fairly polarizing generations. I don't think people have as strong of feelings about Gen X as either of those. One of the things that the millennials correctly call the baby boomers on the carpet for is how much bullshit self mythologizing they do and how absolutely obsessed they are with documenting, elevating, and mythologizing the late 50s and the 60s and their youth. And so, where, fucking Sha Na Na might sing about, what is it, finger banging Mary Jane Rottencrotch for the first time at the drive in, like, to me, the contents of Steely Dan records are really not much elevated above that. Like the fact that they went to through some snooty East Coast, um, they all. I mean, looking at the two of them, the idea that those were teenage Lotharios, I just don't believe it. I don't believe either of those were pulling broads the way that they sing about it. It's possible. It's possible. How would I know? They may have very rich daddies. Like I haven't read the biography of Steely Dan, but that ridiculous self mythologizing of their college years, and then to not only be absolutely stomach turning in your self mythologizing, but to then turn around and write a song like "Hey 19," in which you literally are talking to the next generation, saying like, "Yeah, you had to be there. Like you're
Yeah.
never gonna be shit." Because you don't know the soul survivors quite as well as we do. I mean, again, those. This is why it's a draft. Now that I know what I know about Hey 19, like I
Yeah.
avoid. I have to tune the lyrics out to enjoy it, and it's because I keep thinking of Donald Fagen's face when I hear it, and taking my life lessons from an asshole like that is something that I refuse to do. But you can't fault the song. The song
Yeah. Well,
is well done. So there we go. Hey 19 is my first pick.
yeah, and it's yeah, it's good that they are educating on things like Aretha Franklin,
Yep.
but at the same time, yeah, they're being sort of just snooty about it.
Yeah. What's the whole catalog? But all right, that I'm proud of that pick.
Okay, so all right, yeah, I got to go for a big gun because it's the first pick. So it's like you got to pick your running back that can get you points per reception, as well as running for hopefully 100 yards a game or so. So with that, I'm gonna go with "Do It Again."
Tell me more. Tell me more.
It's a good sounding song. As we mentioned last time, the greatest quote about Steely Dan in my mind is Tom Sharpling's. Is that the only thing that Steely Dan is good for is demoing new speakers? And if you're going to do that, I think "Do It Again" is a good one to go with.
Right. You can't fault your logic there, or Tom Sharpling's.
Yeah. If you're going to check the clarity of a new pair of speakers, "Do It Again" is a good one to demo.
So I don't think you would have taken Hey 19 based on your reaction.
I would not have. It is a repulsive song.
Okay, yeah. There's no chance I would have ever taken "Do It Again," which again just goes back to my theory about another backward looking. You can't you can't say anything more backward looking than "Do It Again." Like, it's like a Mike Love revival, Beach Boys. It's absolutely...
That was a good song too. Brian Wilson was played a big role on that song.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't mean literally that song. I just meant the spirit of. It's like okay. I'll grant you that the record's good. The Beach Boys record is good, but if you had to go see the Beach Boys today and watch Mike Love sing it, you'd throw up, right? I would.
Well, I did if when they had their 50th.
All right, that's tolerable. That's tolerable.
Yeah.
That's all. For anybody, I'm going to have to get the right name for it, but if you can get into it, I highly recommend the Facebook group called "Mike Love is a Douchebag." It's one of the best Facebook groups out there. When I realized that there was a Facebook group like that, I've never felt more connected to my fellow human being. Well, that's interesting because we both picked songs that neither the other would have picked, which means I probably have a fair shot at getting my next two. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm taking Josie.
Okay.
And I'm taking Josie for a lot of reasons. One of which is you have to grab as much real estate from the Asia album as you can. I'm giving away my strategy here because I'm going to lose one monster from that record one way or another from you, but I think I'm only going to lose one now that I have locked up Josie for myself.
Okay.
The BBC has a documentary series on how great albums were made, and I think Josie is... they did one on Josie. So again, as I don't care for that band, I wouldn't cross the street to shake their hand, but you cannot deny the... like it may not just be for testing speakers, but like that crystalline, incredible sound. Like, they were great at that. The sort of white boy jazz shit is really hard to stomach in large quantities, but they did have bands behind them that weren't all posers. They did have bands behind them who really could play. I think Pretty Purdy from the jazz, or the great jazz drummer. I think, if he was willing to play with them and he was willing to do great work with them, I probably should be a little more respectful. And again, I think, if I'm not mistaken, his drum work on this album would be the best he did with them. So I have to grab real estate on the Asia album. And I think Josie is a great place to plant the flag.
Okay. Well, all right. So now that you've announced your strategy, that does maybe change where I was going to go next. Well, I definitely wouldn't have gone next with this, but I'm still kind of deciding whether I am going to go next with this. But
good. Sounds like I put you in a spot. Sounds like me being transparent. What if you zig and I zag? What if all that's just a lie and I'm moving on to pretzel logic?
Yeah, well, you may have figured out the game of poker then.
Damn straight.
I don't know. You might have put me in a pickle here.
Good. Suffer.
All right. Well, all right. I'm gonna commit to it though. I will go with Deacon Blues next.
Perfect. I couldn't ask for better. Please tell me more about Deacon Blues.
I don't know. It really is just something. Yeah, you put me in a pickle. You put me in a pickle, so I took Deacon Blues.
Yeah, I'm I. It's another one of those songs of where they're talking about. It's literally it's about their wacky college days. Like, is there anything more boring in the world than listening to people talk about what their life in college was like? Hearing
Yeah.
people's fucking college rage stories is like that. Abu Ghraib prison should have been playing accounts of that to make the prisoners talk. Although that would have been worse, probably worse torture. Maybe it should have made them. You know,
I can tell you that this is so much more venomous than the Eagles draft was.
the truth is, this might be a show topic someday. In fact, I insist it do become one. But just for now, I think about if I was drafted in the military and somehow ended up like the night shift watchman in a prisoner or in a prison, and they told me that I had to play music to coerce the prisoners to talk, I would put Steely Dan on rotation one night. I honest to God think I could get people unaccustomed to music to just put their hands in their ears and beg. They'll tell us anything we want to know if I make them listen to all of Deacon Blues. Is there a legitimate reason Deacon Blues has to be whatever 9 minutes long or 7 minutes long or whatever it is?
Oh God, is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what I was picking.
Hold on, hold on. 7 minutes 36 seconds.
I have probably never heard the song all the way through. I bet you every time I've ever heard Deacon Blues, I've probably checked out before it was over.
Well, you have polluted our playlist, sir. You've dropped an 8 minute long triple coiler right into the punch bowl.
I'll have to live with it, I guess. I'll just have to live with it.
We both will. Do you have anything else for Deacon Blues?
No.
All right.
You put me in a pickle.
This is but I put myself in a little bit of a pickle. I'm gonna go back to Asia one more time just to lock it down, but there's two here for me to pick from, and I think this is a really, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm gonna put Black Cow up next on mine. I'm taking Black Cow, and I'm not ashamed to say it's because the way it's been sampled has been so good. I was not a fan of Black Cow by Steely Dan. I wasn't listening to it, even though it does have my name in it. So if you're born with the name Rudy, you're very, very. You have Frank Zappa's "Rudy Wants to Buy You a Drink," which is great.
Yeah.
Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy, like Rudy Can't Fail. It's kind of a mixed bag. Having my name in
Rudy, a message to you.
Yeah, there's times I like that. Every time I meet, I'd say at least once a week in a meeting at work, I meet someone for the first time and they tell me either they have a message for me or that I can't fail. It's one of the two. So I've always sort of been aware of Black Cow, but until Deja Vu, the Uptown Baby, for the crown, baby. Like I didn't give it any credit at all. And I must say that after hearing it a million times on Deja Vu, Uptown Baby, I've come to have a very deep appreciation for it. And I probably could listen to it maybe even twice in a row. Probably.
You forgot about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
That's another one. I've never forgotten about it, I assure you, sir.
Okay.
I'm taking Black Cow.
All right. Okay, so genuine like for that song then, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. My third pick is going to be a song I would say I genuinely like as well. I have to work on my enunciation. And that is Dirty Work.
Ooh. So you have taken two now from the very early era before they started singing for themselves. I consider that that's a defense mechanism you're using because they sound so much different than the shit that Donald Fagen sings. You've picked "Do It Again." Oh, I guess that is Donald Fagen. Well, shit. Well, you picked one that he didn't sing, and I think that's going to make the playlist easier to listen to.
Well, good.
Why'd you pick it?
I genuinely like the song "Dirty Work," even though I can't say the word genuinely. But yeah, I do like
Hmm.
that song. I think it's just kind of largely in part due to the sentiment, just kind of the idea of yeah, I'm done with this.
So that might put me in a bad position. Like, do I need to go grab something from the early records here? You've left me the only option being Reelin' in the Years, which I will not pick to save my life. I don't. If we have to go into like bootleg recordings of them, I will take 30-minute jams of Deacon Blues before I will take Reelin' in the Years. That will never ever happen.
You know, the thing about reeling in the ears that I've always thought, it starts out with that guitar riff, right?
Hmm.
And it's so promising because it's kind of a cool guitar riff, and then it just kind of just doesn't go anywhere that you want it to go
No,
after
my
that.
body, I have muscle memory. The second I hear that guitar riff, my hand can reach out to change the radio station like it's like a reflex. It's like so
Yeah.
fast. It's like a Bruce Lee maneuver. That's the only time I have Bruce Lee quickness is when Reelin' in the Years or Two Princes by the Spin Doctors come on. Either of those two come on and I got the Bruce Lee quickness.
You know, and this might be true of Two Princes as well. They come in with cool guitar parts. It's kind of like an angel comes down from heaven, but then just talks a bunch of shit.
Yes.
You know, it's like an angel comes down, says, "I have good tidings of great joy," and then it's just a bunch of like Trumpian stuff.
Yeah. All right, this is a tough spot to be in. I it would be really weak sauce for me to go back to Asia, wouldn't it? But
I don't know.
it's the only album that I think if you told like maybe there's if you forced me to take a Steely Dan album, that would easily be it. So I'm gonna take Peg.
Okay.
I'm gonna take Peg only because I genuinely enjoy the opening lyric. We're gonna break out. Oh, that's Josie. Damn it! I don't like anything about Peg. I should. No,
I think you're locked in now. I
no,
think
I'm
you're
taking
locked
it.
in.
No, Peg's okay. Um, Peg has a good guitar solo. I think it's the Lee Ritenour solo. That's really good. That's from that BBC documentary. If you go watch the production of Asia, the way they had like 50 other guitarists come in and do solos at the end there, and none of them they liked. And then Lee Ritenour comes in and just plays that like first time through, and it's one of the great rock guitar solos of that era for sure. Has no thanks to them.
Hmm.
All right, I got Peg.
Okay. Uh, okay. So this is another song that I probably like a lot less than Dirty Work, but I do kind of like it. So I'm gonna go with My Old School.
Interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more.
I don't know. I don't know why I like that song at all, but and I don't know. Just kind of I do kind of like the line, California crumbles into the sea. That's the next time I'll go to that place. That's kind of a good line. I don't know.
More, it's just more of that East Coast elite. Of course,
Yeah,
then eventually, if you move to the East Coast and you see the people who actually live here, it hurts one's heart that these are the elite of our country, and the fact that the world is run by people like Donald, like the world is run by people that those two guys went to college with. Like
sure.
who I think of Steely Dan is in the modern context is they would have been at parties with Justice Kavanaugh. That's who I think. Like that's who they are. They're like at some elite East Coast school, boofing, sticking their dicks in people's faces, whatever boofing is. And I've never been to a party where someone stuck their dick in somebody's face. Mashed potatoes, yes. Face, no. And like that is who those two are to me. Is those were the two coolest people at the Judge Kavanaugh party.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even really have anything to add to that. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, so you picked my old school comes from the Countdown to Ecstasy album, which is such a dramatically different album from their debut. Um, Can't Buy a Thrill is like an AM radio staple that's got Do It Again, Dirty Work, and Reelin' in the Years. Like it's these three massive singles, and then they come out with Countdown to Ecstasy. I don't even know what the single from it is. My Old School and Bodhisattva were the only ones we ever played on the radio when I worked in classic rock.
And by the way, you didn't even mention the fact that they ripped off that title from Dylan.
Mm.
Is that a sore spot?
No, again, I do know a little bit about their biography. Is I think the two of them met. They were just like in backing bands in like schmaltzy '60s bands. They were in like Jay and the Americans, which is the band that did "Come a Little Bit Closer, You're My Kind of Man."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think of those two assholes. Like I do love the idea that the finest of our East Coast breeding is like working the fucking county fair circuit with a reconstituted Jay and the Americans in order to pay the bills. Like the idea of Donald Fagen having to sit there and play "Come a Little Bit Closer" like night after night in the fucking pig barns they were playing it, like that to me is fitting. That to me is that's where they should have stayed. That's where it makes me happy that happened. But they didn't do it long enough to even out all the other shit that they did.
That song, by the way, is the basis for a great scene in the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
I have not seen it. I have to admit I am not the movie person. I just saw the Deadpool, those two. So it takes me like 20 years to get caught up.
Yeah.
All right, so you have My Old School. That's really that's radio friendly, but it's deep at the same time. That is a bold choice. Thankfully for me, it does not interfere with where I was organically headed. I have to get away from Asia. I've got to try to salvage something from the rest of this, and I will not go near the first two. So Bodhisattva's yours. I will take Ricky, Don't Lose That Number.
I was wondering if that would get picked.
It's gross. It's too long. But the piano playing, I think, is interesting. When I worked in radio and that came on, I didn't always turn the volume down, which is terrible. Like 90% of the songs I would have to play, you start it, you say what you got to say, and the second you can turn the monitors off so you don't have to listen to it. Like most Steely Dan would have been like that for me, but I think I left Ricky, Don't Lose That Number on more than other Steely Dan songs, so I can live with it.
All right, so this is...
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is your final choice.
Yeah. Okay, so my last pick will be basically as much, probably totally about cover versions of it. There are a couple of songs that I've heard good covers of. I don't necessarily like the originals that much, but I'm going to go with Any Major Dude Will Tell You.
Interesting.
And that's largely because there was a soundtrack to what was it? I think it was Me, Myself, and Irene.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like everybody was doing Steely Dan covers on the soundtrack. And Wilco had a good version of Any Major Dude Will Tell You, and that's why I'm making it my fifth pick.
I actually think this is a pretty quality list considering what low quality human beings are in the band Steely Dan. There's so much else we could go into here. They basically brought Michael McDonald to the world. And again, I have a love-hate thing with him too, which is it's cringy, but I hate listen to it. Like I hate listen to Michael McDonald. And I used to send Michael McDonald stuff to other people just to sort of as a fuck you. Like it's really hard to listen to Yamo Be There by James Ingram. I think it's James Ingram and Michael McDonald, or On My Own with Patti LaBelle. Every time you are suffering under the weight of the oppression of Michael McDonald, you have Steely Dan to thank. You don't get mad at Michael McDonald. I don't think he knows better. I don't think he understands like how way his fucked up psychology has impacted this country so negatively. I don't hold Michael McDonald responsible for Michael McDonald. I hold Steely Dan responsible.
Well, maybe symptomatic of a bigger issue.
Yeah. We have a pretty tolerable 10 here. 19, Do It Again, Josie, Deacon Blues, Black Cow, Dirty Work, Peg, My Old School, Ricky Don't Lose That Number, and Any Major Dude Will Tell You. I don't know if a hardcore Steely Dan fan would appreciate this in any way, shape, or form. I think we worked pretty hard here. I have to throw in two quick things. Donald Fagen made a solo album in the like 82, like the right after the breakup of Steely Dan, called The Nightfly, and that has New Frontier and IGY on it. Those were both big songs. Those were both big singles, and they were big because their music videos were pretty good. The New Frontier video again, another backward-looking self mythology, just the 50s this time, but that's worth watching. Those videos from Donald Fagen's Nightfly. And then here's a real left field. This is the only thing I can think of that I really genuinely like from either of them. Is Walter Becker produced a China Crisis album in like 1983, somewhere in there, 1984. And it actually has quite a few great singles. They were never popular in the US, but the China Crisis records did pretty well in the UK. The album is called Flaunt the Imperfection. It sounds like, to me, Steely Dan is mayonnaise for the ears. It's literally like, and this China Crisis record is mayonnaise for the ears in all the bad ways that Steely Dan were. It's real, it's dated, and it's synthesized, but boy, the songwriting is there. King of the Catholic Style is a great song. 1985, actually. 1985. So
mayonnaise can be a pretty effective condiment when blended right with other condiments. It's a compliment condiment. It's not so much,
Yep. From your lips to God's ears. I agree with you. I think that's for a playlist. I'm going to go this far. So I want to say this is a final thing. Is I did force myself to go back and listen to our Eagles playlist during the week after we made it, and it's intolerable. I don't think we got. I think we did the best we could, and I don't blame us. I blame them. I do think there's a chance that this playlist will be better than our Eagles playlist. I'm going to give this a few spins. The fact that I'm living in New York right now probably makes it a little easier to like it. There is sort of a New Yorky vibe to a lot of it. So maybe I'll get some pleasure out of it. We'll see. It can't be much worse than the Eagles.
I probably would go the other way. I'd probably be more likely to listen to the Eagles list if we were going to listen to one or the other. For one thing, I don't know.
You're going to find out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you even have honorable mentions here. I do not. I don't have any honorable Steely Dan mentions. I went as deep as I possibly could with Steely Dan. And
I can't remember what movie they took the name from or what book.
It was a Burroughs book, right?
Yeah. More self-mythologizing. Like the idea that the sort of danger that lurks around William Burroughs is in any way transferable to Steely Dan is.
Yeah, I think it was Naked Lunch.
Yeah. So, great name for a band, though, especially when you know that Steely Dan, I believe, is a giant dildo, if I'm not mistaken, in the original parlance.
Right.
So, the fact that they got that on the radio and they got it on Square, like AM radio in 1972, I guess I'd give them a Beavis and Butthead shout out.
Well, but you used to get so much on the radio without even trying, like things that, when the Who said, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah.
Nobody batted an eye at that for years and years. I remember when I was a kid, there was a song, and I don't remember who did it anymore, but remember the song "Snorting Whiskey and Drinking Cocaine"?
I'm aware of it.
That used to get played on the radio all the time. I remember being a kid singing that.
All right, I had a sidebar. I'm going to let it go for now. We haven't picked the next band for a draft. I do think Doobie Brothers has to. If it wasn't on the list, it needs to go on the list. Just based on, I think the Doobie. You mentioned Long Trade Running earlier, and then Steely
Yeah.
Dan forced us to talk about Michael
China
McDonald.
Grove.
Yeah, China Grove.
China Grove.
Yeah, there's enough pain and possible pleasure in the Doobie Brothers catalog that I think we should give that some consideration as a future draft. But we're gonna take Steely Dan and see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, who else did we? So we could decide, even if we don't do it right away next time.
Yeah.
We could decide who will be next. Who else do we talk about? One thing I thought about Phil Collins solo stuff.
Oh,
We could do Phil Collins solo stuff and then decide whether or not we have to take In the Air Tonight off the table.
I actually think that's a really difficult one because there is a live version of that song on a Greenpeace charity album that is done in a different arrangement where it's just him playing the piano. That's fucking great. So I don't think I can allow the song to be taken off. Maybe that recording, but I can't allow that song. I need the flexibility.
But that's the first pick. That's the reason why I suggest it. The first pick is going to be In the Air Tonight. So the question is, do we just take that off the table, or?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really
because kind of like we took Covers off the table, and I think we take Covers off the table for all of these, but for that one specifically, I think we take In the Air Tonight off the table because how's that not going to be the first pick? We could just say,
I'll agree to this. I'll agree as far as the Phil Collins goes. So next week you go first. So I'll agree to the Phil Collins, but we should not do it next.
Right. Well, and this goes back to I think we got to take In the Air Tonight off the table when we do that. Well, and another thing. So just talking about other ideas that we've tossed around. Van Hagar.
Yeah. Oh, Van Hagar. That's brutal. It would be hard. It would not be hard with a David Lee Roth there, but Van Hagar. Can we really come up with 10 total?
That would be an interesting thing to find out.
Oh, that means we're listening to Pound Cake at some point.
You know what? I say we do Van Hagar next.
All right, Van Hagar. That fucking sucks, though.
Yeah, we'll put Phil Collins on deck and do Van Hagar next.
Let's give ourselves some room and say we're going to do Van Halen without David Lee Roth. I don't know what Van Halen 3.
So Gary Cerrone.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I don't even know any of that stuff, honestly.
But what I'm saying is that I can't think of 5 Van Hagars right now, and I might have to dip in to VH3.
Yeah, I will be educating myself on VH3 because I've never heard it.
It's terrible. It's bad. But so is the Van Hagar stuff. Although 5150's tolerating, but I don't think you can come up with a worse album title than OU812.
Yeah.
I just don't think it can be done.
We can still refer to it as Van Hagar and then fudge the line.
All right, if we need to. All right.
Yeah.
Van Hagar it is, and then Phil Collins. Boy, these are dark days, man. This is some brutal shit.
Yeah.
It has to be done. We do it because we care. Yeah, this is Rudy.
This is Flick.
See you next time.
Keep your feet on the ground and
keep reaching for the stars. Or
that's right.
It was a little dog named Snuggles. We'll see you then.